Welcome aboard, everybody. Dr. Peter Glidden here. Today is Tuesday, the 4th day of June in the year 2013. Welcome aboard, 866-582-9933. That's the number to call to speak with me live, 866-582-9933. If you're listening to the podcast and would like information, that number, 855-347-3696. Call that number. 855-347-3696 and get information about how to join Dr. Glidden's Longevity team, because we are kicking Big Pharma's butt, not by doing a frontal assault, but by doing an end around. We are up to the business of creating a grassroots coalition of the informed, growing a grassroots network of people all around the world, by the way, who have learned how to recover their health and make themselves wealthy into the bargain with science-based, clinically verified medical nutrition, boilerplate medical nutrition protocols which support and promote the structure and function of all of the major organ systems of the body. We're teaching people how to become their own doctors at home. Why on earth would we do this? Because the MDs have let everybody down, and they've let everybody down hard. The leading cause of death and the leading cause of bankruptcy in the U.S. are MD-directed medical treatments, and under the tutelage and the care of the allopathic MD, pharmaceutical centrist, pharmaceutical shill doctors, our health is getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Case in point, Alzheimer's disease. Case in point, heartburn. The largest selling medicine in the world, the largest classification of medicines sold in the world is statin drugs. Statin drugs, which are cholesterol-lowering drugs. Cholesterol-lowering drugs. Did you know that they work by creating a toxic reaction in the liver? They toxify the liver. The drug, the chemical that was discovered that lowered cholesterol levels was discovered in a species of yeast called red rice yeast. Red rice yeast. There was a chemical that the yeast secreted in order to kill their competitors. They would kill their competitors by secreting a particular chemical so that no other types of yeast could grow on the host, in this case red rice, that this particular yeast was growing on. It was very interesting and ingenious. So the yeast secreted a poison which killed their competitors. And that's the stuff that the MDs dump into your body in order to lower your cholesterol levels. It lowers your cholesterol levels by creating a poisonous inflammatory action in the liver, which is why when you're taking a statin drug, you need to have your liver assessed every 6 months for hepatitis, because one of the leading side effects of statin drugs is hepatitis. One of the other leading side effects of statin drugs, of course, dementia. And inquiring minds want to know why. Well, the first statin drug was introduced into the market in the early 1980s. I believe it was 1982, if my data is correct, and it always is. Well, most of the time it is. In the early 80s, let's say, the early 80s, the first cholesterol-lowering statin drug was released onto the market. Shortly thereafter, it was around 1987. It was around 1987 that Alzheimer's rates skyrocketed. I mean, Alzheimer's rates skyrocketed out of the blue in the late 80s. They just took off. All of a sudden, Alzheimer's is everywhere all the time, and it's growing and growing and growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. And it happened a few years after statin drugs were introduced into the marketplace. Why is this coincidental? Because MDs are not trained in how to help the body heal. They're only trained in how to manage illness with drugs. Their goal is not to heal you. Their goal is to manage your symptoms with symptom-suppressive, synthetic, man-made pharmaceutical drugs sold to you at a profit. The intention of which isn't to fix anything but to manage your symptoms. So they don't cure the condition, they manage the problem. So, cholesterol becomes lowered in your blood. Well, guess what? Cholesterol is so important to the human body. So important to the human body that your liver makes it. That's why cholesterol is not considered an essential nutrient, because essential nutrients can only be called essential if the body needs them, but the body cannot make it. So calcium, for instance, is an essential nutrient. Vitamin C, an essential nutrient, because the body needs it, but it can't make it. So what goes on here? What is the deal? Inquiring minds want to know. Well, the simple fact of the matter is that 95% of the part of the brain, 95% of the part of the brain that's affected by Alzheimer's disease, 95% of the part of the brain that's affected by Alzheimer's disease is made from cholesterol. 75% of the central nervous system is made from cholesterol. That number might not be correct. It might be higher than that. I believe it's higher than that. But the majority of the central nervous system is made from cholesterol. Your bones, of course, are made from calcium and minerals, right? And some sulfur-bearing molecules as the lattice that all the minerals glom onto. Your skin is made from sulfur-bearing molecules. Well, guess what? Your brain and your nerves are made mostly from cholesterol. So, when you drive cholesterol into the ditch with cholesterol-lowering statin drugs, fat-free diets, and exercise, your brain dries up and you get Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is caused by statin drugs. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. If you put the two graphs side by side of the incidence of Alzheimer's and the introduction of cholesterol-lowering statin drugs and the sales thereof, numbers don't lie. In this case, they don't lie. And yet, the medical industry continues to sell statin drugs at an alarming rate, even though there are hundreds of published studies, maybe even thousands of published studies, which show or prove there's no relationship between high cholesterol and heart disease. It doesn't exist. My colleague, Dr. Wallach, in 1976, I believe, published a study which proved that cholesterol deposition in arteries is caused by inflammation in the arteries, and that the body lays down the cholesterol as a bandage to soothe the damage in the wall of the artery, to keep you from bleeding to death. But the medical doctor, having really a juvenile, old-fashioned, dangerous, out-of-date, out-of-sync, tunnel-visioned view of human anatomy and physiology, doesn't understand this, doesn't care to understand it, because one of his professors told him that it was cholesterol that was the cause of clogging in the artery, and they never questioned it. And then when they got into private practice, all of their colleagues they were whistling the same tune. Oh, cholesterol is the cause of heart disease, and it becomes the 100th monkey thing. Becomes reality by consensus, not reality by fact. Medical doctors have weak minds. They have a herd mentality. They do not question authority. They do not bring the scientific method to bear. And when they do bring the scientific method to bear on stuff which is accepted as normal behavior, they're vilified by their contemporaries. It is not a noble profession. It is not a profession to be lauded. It is a profession to be disdained. And it is a profession to run away from as quickly as is humanly possible. For goodness sake, the leading cause of death in the United States, MD-directed medicine. Your father, your mother got Alzheimer's because they were taking statin drugs on a fat-free diet and exercising on the advice of their MDs. Your medical doctor, your MD, your allopathic doctor is to blame for Alzheimer's disease. Period. Number two. You know what the second leading selling drug in the world is? Proton pump inhibitors. These are the drugs that inhibit stomach acid because the MDs have convinced you, because the pharmaceutical companies convinced them, that heartburn is caused by too much stomach acid, and it is not caused by too much stomach acid. Heartburn is caused by not enough stomach acid. When there is not enough stomach acid present, gastrin levels in the stomach build up. And when gastrin levels in the stomach build up, there's a little valve at the top of your stomach that opens up. And when that valve opens up, what little stomach acid there is in the stomach, and there is a little bit, squirts up into the throat, and you get heartburn. But MDs, having a herd mentality, having no real intellectual integrity, just believe what the pharmaceutical companies told them, believe what all their colleagues have told them, believe what their professor in school told them, hands down. They're cowards. They're cowards. They don't even bring a juvenile understanding of human anatomy and physiology to bear on their treatment of your chronic illnesses. So what do when they're faced with heartburn? Well, they believe in the herd mentality that heartburn is caused by too much stomach acid, even though I've been trying to get a physiologist for 24 years to tell me the mechanism that causes the body to create too much stomach acid. They can't, because guess what? It doesn't exist. It's impossible for the body to create too much stomach acid. Well, I guess it could under certain circumstances, but I'm still waiting to see what those are. Maybe if you hang upside down in outer space for 20 days, there is no upside down in space, so I don't even know where I'm going there. But the fact of the matter is it's very, very, very easy for the body to make not enough stomach acid. You know what the main cause of underactive stomach acid is? Not enough salt in the diet. That's what I said, not enough salt. Who told you not to eat salt? Your medical doctor told you not to eat salt, and that started 30, 40 years ago. So since we've been listening to the advice of our medical doctors and not eating salt, heartburn has gone through the roof, provoking the sale of proton pump inhibitor antacids to be the second largest category of drugs sold in the world. And Alzheimer's has risen from obscurity to the sixth leading cause of death, while statin drug sales have soared, and heart disease statistics have remained unchanged as far as the numbers of people getting heart disease. It is one gigantic shell game, and it is so big that everybody misses it. The leading cause of heartburn is not enough salt. And your doctor told you not to eat salt, which causes an epidemic in the sales of proton pump inhibitors. And good for the drug companies, bad for you. And oh, by the way, can you remember my name? Oh, then that means you don't have Alzheimer's, but it's only a matter of time. I am Dr. Peter Glidden. Stop the madness. Fire your medical doctor now. Log on to my website instead. I'm taking your calls when we come back. Stick around. Welcome back, everybody. Dr. Peter Glidden here with you on Tuesday, the 4th day of June, 2013. So this is it, right? I just want to wrap up this thought from before, and then we're going to go to California, talk to Pedro. But here's the deal, right? So while we've listened to the MDs tell us exactly the wrong things to do, they've made tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of money, and we've gotten sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker. They told us to take statin drugs. We took statin drugs, and Alzheimer's went through the roof, but heart disease remains unchanged. What has changed with heart disease is they can keep you alive after you've had a heart attack now, because remember, their wheelhouse is trauma. That's what they're good at. They can't fix the degenerative root cause of heart disease. They're, spending millions of dollars trying to decipher the gene and to uncode the gene that's at the basis of heart disease. It's nonsense. It's not genetic. It's biochemical. It's nutritional. It's the stuff that you eat that causes inflammation in the arteries. Stuff that you don't eat can't put the fire out in the body. If you don't have enough nutrients in your body to put inflammatory fires out, then inflammation is going to run rampant. That's why they get wildfires in California, right? Because there's not enough rain, everything's dry, there's not enough water to keep the fires out. So they burn themselves out. They burn and burn and burn until it rains, or until they just reach the ocean and burn themselves out. Well, it's no different in your body. Your body needs antioxidants. It needs stuff in order to put out the fires of life. And if you're unwittingly eating the wrong food all the time, guess what? You're screwed. And on top of this, the MDs have told you not to eat salt. By not eating salt, you have completely decimated your stomach's ability to produce healthy stomach acid. So guess what happens when you don't have healthy stomach acid? You don't digest your food. Now, your food doesn't have the nutrients necessary to sustain life in it anyway. Your food is nutrient deficient, but now because you've been on a salt-restricted diet, you can't absorb any of the nutrients that are in your food, hardly. You get a couple of calories out of the bargain, but you're not going to get any minerals. You're going to get a couple of vitamins, but you're going to be running on fumes because your stomach's digestive ability has been suppressed by lack of salt. And then, of course, you get heartburn, which is a salt deficiency disease and a calcium deficiency disease. It's caused by not enough stomach acid. So now you have heartburn, and so what does the MD do? He gives you a drug which completely eliminates your stomach acid altogether. It's gone. Now you don't have any. There's none. Zero. Now, you know when you were a kid playing dominoes and you had all the dominoes lined up, you know, and you knock one over and it's a beautiful thing. It makes a little design, right? Well, if you remove one of the dominoes from the link, what happens? It stops. Well, guess what happens when you remove digestive juice from the stomach from the link? Everything, the rest of the digestive process stops. It stops completely. So by eliminating salt from your diet, the MDs provoked an epidemic of heartburn, which they then suppressed with proton pump inhibitors, generating a generation of chronic nutrient deficiencies, which causes autism. I said it out loud. Autism is caused, we believe, by chronic undiagnosed nutrient deficiencies in women who are pregnant. And that's why there's also so much infertility. Because the human body doesn't have the nutrients it needs to sustain a pregnancy. The human body has wisdom. It knows that it doesn't have enough nutrition to sustain a pregnancy. And so guess what's going to happen? The body's not going to want you to get pregnant. Because it knows the kid's going to be born messed up if they're born at all. And you know, this is sane, pragmatic medicine, but when we tell people this, oh, Dr. Glidden, this is unfounded and unsubstantiated and blah-de-blah-de-blah, well, kiss my white you-know-what. It's nonsense. All you need is a little common sense and a little bit of perspective, which most of us have neither of here in the United States. Because why? For 100 years, the MDs have gone out of their way to monopolize the medical market. That's the only reason they still have a job, is because they have legislated themselves into first place. You know, it's like the nasty person that everybody hates on the board of the selectmen, but they keep getting reelected because they gerrymander the results. They get in by hook or by crook, and once they're in, they stay in, and then they exercise relentless Machiavellian power over everything. The only reason that the MDs are in the driver's seat of medicine is because they've kept everybody else off the bus. For goodness sake, my profession is only licensed and regulated in 16 states, might be 17 now. You kidding me? It's illegal for Dr. Glidden to practice medicine in 36 states? Put that in your pipe and smoke it. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden, taking your calls when we come back. 866-582-9933. Welcome back, everybody. Dr. Peter Glidden here, coming at you live on Tuesday, June 4th. Thanks for logging in. Thanks for logging on. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for turning on. Thanks to Pedro from California, who's a regular caller. Hey, Pedro, thanks for your patience. You are live.
Hey there, Dr. Peter Glidden. I have some questions in regards to cancer and gray hair, sir.
All right. Bring it at me, Pedro.
All right. I have a friend, well, I'm about to visit right now. She has cancer, and she's about to go under chemo tomorrow. And I was hoping you could tell me the 10 questions so I could let her know that she can ask her doctor. And I was hoping you would tell me what she can use to recover quickly from her cancer.
Well, we can't treat cancer. Nobody can treat cancer in the United States except MDs. It's illegal to treat cancer. How about that? Illegal for anybody except an MD to treat cancer, and the MDs stink at treating cancer. There was an article published in 1998, I believe, in the Journal of Clinical Oncology, which is the gold standard of cancer research here in the United States, quite frankly, in the world. They did a 14-year study of adults who had developed cancer and were treated with chemo. And the published results clearly stated that 97% of the time, chemotherapy treatment for adults with cancer doesn't work. It doesn't work 97% of the time. So the 10 questions can be found in my book in the chapter on cancer. So just go to Amazon.com and download it. It's $9.99. I'll tell you the first 3 questions. I mean, you can have the book in 2 minutes if you have a Kindle. I'll tell you the first 3 questions. Number 1, can this treatment cure my cancer? Can it cure my cancer? That's a simple, straightforward, honest question. Question number 2, if it doesn't cure my cancer, what can I expect it to do? Question number 3, what side effects will this treatment provoke, and how will it affect the quality of my life? And of course, question number 4, the biggest question, how much money will you make by prescribing this treatment specifically, right? Does it work? Does it cure the cancer? If it doesn't cure the cancer, what can I expect? What are the side effects? How is it going to affect the quality of my life? And how much money are you going to profit from prescribing this treatment? If you ask those 4 questions, there are 6 others. If you ask those 4 questions to any oncologist, you will be kicked out of their office, or they will make you feel mean and low-spirited. They will make you feel like a fool for even having the audacity to ask those questions in the first place. And it is a fool's errand. Chemotherapy doesn't work for cancer. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And, you know, people need to start saying this out loud. It doesn't work so bad that, or so much, that the American Cancer Society years ago stopped even entertaining the notion of a cure. They don't even entertain the notion of a cure anymore. What they now, their whole yardstick for a success of treatment for cancer is if you are diagnosed with cancer and you go on board with a conventional cancer treatment, chemo, radiation, or surgery, and you are alive 5 years later, that's considered a success. So when oncologists talk to patients about the successfulness of the treatment, the patient hears the word cure, but the doctor means you're still going to be alive in 5 years, but your legs are going to fall off, your hair is going to fall out, you're not going to recognize your kids, we're going to have to remove your gallbladder and your kidneys, we're going to have to put you on all these anti-rejection medicines because we're going to need to put a fake heart in your body as a result of the chemotherapy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the patient just doesn't ask these questions. The medical doctor doesn't care. Because from the medical doctor's point of view, there's nothing else for the patient to do, because all this alternative stuff is just hocus pocus and smoke and mirrors and quack medicine, and I'm the doctor and you need to shut up and do what the doctor says. Even though it's not perfect, shut up and do what the doctor says. They need to be pilloried in the town square, for goodness sake. This is bad medicine. Bad, bad, bad medicine. Look, Pedro, I can prescribe drugs in certain states in which I'm licensed. Drugs are not the problem. Conventional treatments are not the problem. It's whether they work or not. They don't work. They don't work. And yet, because people are intimidated by the men and the women in the white coats, and you're intimidated by the hospital setting in which you go for the cancer interview in, if the medical doctor could tell you to eat rat poison and you do it. Oh, we already do that. It's called warfarin or Coumadin. The medical doctor could tell you to give your kid a derivative of cocaine. Oh, we already do that. That's what Ritalin is. Medical doctor could tell you to jump off of the roof of a building, and most people would do it because they trust the doctor, and this is the biggest single mistake that we make. If you start looking at your medical doctor like a businessman instead of a physician, you will have a much better understanding of where they're coming from. Those are the 4 questions that she needs to ask, and she needs to have 2 guys wearing dark suits with sunglasses stand behind her, not saying a word, staring the doctor down while she's asking those questions. Because if she doesn't have some type of backup and support, she will cave under the doctor's arrogance and hubris. Their hubris is legendary. For goodness sake, don't get me started, Pedro. You already did. Now, look, we can't treat cancer. It's against the law to treat cancer. Can't do it. You know, that should, if that doesn't make you angry, I don't know. You're just not paying attention. If I was diagnosed with cancer, and heaven forbid, in order to support and promote the structure and function of my body, I would do 1 anti-aging healthy start pack a month. Per 100 pounds of body weight per month, I would do 4 bottles of selenium a month. Regardless of how much I weighed, I'd do 4 bottles of selenium a month, and I would do as much Z-Radical as I could humanly afford. If I could afford 1 bottle of Z-Radical a day, 30 bottles a month, I would do it. So as much Z-Radical as the person can afford, 4 bottles of selenium a month, and 1 anti-aging healthy start pack per 100 pounds of body weight per month, plus elimination of the 10 bad foods, is a most excellent thing to do to support and promote the structure and function of the human body when you are given a diagnosis of an illness that has a negative effect on your immune system, as does cancer, as does most supposed autoimmune diseases. The medical doctors are to be avoided. For goodness sake, they're making thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on the back of this woman. They're going to make thousands of dollars, and the treatments are not going to work. And then the doctor's going to wipe their hands and walk away 6 months from now, after she's a wreck and her friends and family members don't recognize her because her personality has changed, and she's incontinent now at night in bed, and she needs her gallbladder removed, and now she has diarrhea all of the time, and she's just not herself. Because she's not herself, because the drugs changed her personality. They never tell you about that. It's a tragedy, Pedro, of biblical proportions. We need, what should be a burgeoning, growing industry here? Patient advocates. There need to be patient advocates that patients can hire to ask their doctors these hard questions, because people are intimidated by the MD and they won't do it. They will not do it. They see the white coat and they cower in submission. We have Stockholm Syndrome. We have all we've fallen in love with our captors. And this is our biggest problem. This is why I do this radio show, to help ring the bell and wake people up. Pedro, I got to move on, buddy. Thanks for the phone call. I appreciate everything that you do. Download the book from Amazon.com. It's $9.99. Even better yet, get it from my website, drglidden.com, or my favorite, fireyourmdnow.com. Going to North Carolina next, talking to Robert from North Carolina, one of my favorite states in the United States. Hey, Robert, thanks for the phone call. You are live.
Yes, Dr. Glidden, thank you, and thank you for your show. We enjoy it very much. I am 61 years old, and as so many men my age, we've experienced, enlarged prostate and all the symptoms that go with it. And we've kind of dealt with it for a couple of years, and it kind of came to a head about 3 weeks ago. My blood pressure shot way up. And anyway, we went to the doctor. They did the catheter, kind of released the pressure, emptied the bladder. They put me on the generic form of Flomax and Proscar. And since that time, I've been doing doing better, and seem to be urinating a little better and that type thing. And the urologist that they recommended to me, I went to see yesterday, and he said, he gave me an ultrasound, and he said, well, your bladder's still not emptying properly. And he said, the way I see it, he said, you got two choices. You can self-catheterize yourself for the rest of your life, or you can get the TURP operation. Yeah. He called it TURP, the acronym, and you know what that is, where they go in and scrape the excess tissue off the prostate. And I said, well, let me ask this. I said, I've only been on the medicine for about 2.5, 3 weeks. Don't you think it should have a chance to kind of work and all? And he said, well, it's probably not going to do much more than it's already done. He said, you really probably need to get that surgery. And so, I didn't like either one of those alternatives. And we just wanted to call. We have so much, respect for you and your opinion on these things. And
well, I appreciate.
If you had if you might have a recommendation.
Guess what? Yeah, you bet I do. So look, this is just common sense, right? If you had mold in your basement, you wouldn't just paint over it. Or, you wouldn't just scrape it off of the concrete or, the tiles in your basement or the wallpaper. You wouldn't just scrape it off or paint over it. You would look for the source of the mold and fix it. Because where there's mold, there had to be water, and if there was water intrusion into the house, you got a problem, you better find that and fix it, or it's going to happen again. That's just common sense. It's no different with this condition. What these people overlook, because they're just trained in an old-fashioned, out-of-date method. They're trained in an old-fashioned, out-of-date method. It's so archaic their method of looking at human anatomy and physiology. It is laughable, but because everybody in their profession does it, they think that it's just perfectly fine, thank you very much. They have been deluded by their own mediocrity. Deluded by their own mediocrity. They're like colorblind art critics who don't even know that they're colorblind, and they go around criticizing art. Oh, yeah, that's a beautiful painting of the Mona Lisa. They don't know diddly squat about it because there's a whole bunch of stuff right in front of their face that they can't even see. So, you know, if they go in and roto-rooter your prostate with the TURP surgery, which is what that basically is, they're going to, burn away and cut away and hack away the tissue that is impeding the ureter that comes out of your bladder, that goes through the penis, and which is, how you eliminate urine from your body. But it's going to come back. It's going to come back because But the condition that caused the prostate to become swollen in the first place is not fixed by the surgical procedure. It's no different than scraping off the mold in the basement. We need to get to the root cause of what made the mold be there in the first place, what made the prostate get enlarged in the first place. And remember, buddy, that it is never possible to unsurgery something, right? It's never possible to unsurgery something. It's always best to do a medical nutrition intervention for a number of months in non-life-threatening conditions first. Stick around. I'll tell you exactly what to do on the other side of the hard break. Ladies and gentlemen, hey, it's the luckiest day of your life. You've tuned in to Fire Your MD Now. Have you done it yet? Have you done it yet? Have you fired your medical doctor? If you did, call me and tell me. 866-582-9933. That's how we do it here. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, 866-582-9933. All right, Robert, so first things first, you want to be using the catheter, until this problem resolves itself internally, and you want to get the lubricated catheters. They have two types. You want to get the lubricated catheters. They cost a little bit more, but if you don't get the lubricated catheters, then every time you catheterize yourself, you're gonna create a little area of inflammation somewhere. You're going to generate an infection. You're going to have infection after infection after infection, which is what these knuckleheads should have told you in the first place, but they didn't. I mean, this is their wheelhouse. You have to call the naturopath on the radio to get information like this. I mean, give me a break. These guys need to be fired. For goodness sake, they are incompetent at what they do. They don't even know what to tell you to do, how to maximize and optimize what they're advising you to do. They don't care. They don't know about it. When do you think was the last time that surgeon looked at the new models of lubricated catheters? Never. That's the nurse's job. That's not the doctor's job. Well, guess what? He can go pound sand, for goodness sake. Tell you what, you want to get his cell phone number and put it on speed dial, and every single time you get a bladder infection moving forward now because of the crappy catheters that they gave you, I want you to call him at 3 o'clock in the morning. Hey, it's Robert. You suck at what you do. You gave me an awful catheter, and now look what happened. You stink. But don't get me started. All right, I'm already started, Robert. So look, we have to nip this in the bud, right? So the single most common cause, from our perspective, of an enlarged prostate is not enough selenium. It's not enough selenium, and consistent consumption of foods unwittingly. You're eating foods that are pro-inflammatory, and your body doesn't have enough nutrients to put out those fires. And so, everybody's got a weak link in their chain. Some people it's their lungs, some people it's their heart, some people it's the bone, some people it's the joint, some people it's the prostate. That's really where genetics comes into play here, right? Because different people will have different weak links. And we haven't figured that out yet, but I see it all the time. There's some people with selenium deficiencies, boom, they get a lung symptom. Some people with selenium deficiencies, boom, they get a liver symptom. Some people with selenium deficiencies, boom, they get a prostate symptom. Who knew? Well, nobody knows. You just have to wait and see how it plays out. So the recommendation here, of course, eliminate the 10 bad foods. That's of maximum importance. If you are not up to that, then just do whatever the MDs tell you, because I can't help you. You must clean up your diet, number one. Stop eating the 10 bad foods. No whining. Not that you're a whiner. Number two, make sure you are consuming a minimum of 50,000 ORAC points. 50,000 ORAC points of antioxidants a day. 50,000 minimum, 100,000 would be better. 100,000 would be better in your case. between 50 and 100,000 ORAC points of antioxidants a day. And you can do that either through supplementation, right, or food, or both. So you're going to have to educate yourself about the ORAC value of different foods. So just do a little Google search, ORAC food value or whatever, and you can see that, oh, you know, walnuts have more antioxidants than peanuts, and red wine has more antioxidants than white wine, and so forth and so on. So by making simple dietary changes, you can go a long way towards upping the ante with your antioxidants, which is, in fact, what is necessary here. All right, number 3, how much do you weigh, Robert?
185.
All right, so per month, buddy, it's going to be 2 anti-aging healthy start packs. 2 anti-aging healthy start packs per month. 4 bottles of selenium per month. 4 bottles of selenium per month. And 2 bottles of Prost FX a month. 2 bottles of Ultimate Prost FX a month. And 4 bottles, if you can afford it, of Z-Radical a month. 4 Z-Radical, 2 Prost FX, 4 selenium, and 2 anti-aging healthy start packs, plus eliminate the 10 bad foods, right, and up the ante with your antioxidants. So let me do a little calculation here. If you do 2 anti-aging healthy start packs, that's going to give you 32. That's going to give you about 44,000 ORAC, right? All by itself, just with the anti-aging healthy start packs. And just with the anti-aging healthy start packs, 44,000. So you're going to need, 60,000 more ORAC a day. Do this for 90 days, and also make sure you get the lubricated catheters and have a nurse show you how to do it. And call me back every 2 or 3 weeks with a report. I will look forward to it. Hour 2 with Mike Randolph coming up, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. Thanks, Robert from North Carolina. I will see you next time.